Blog Talk Radio.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Welcome aboard, my minions. My name's Tom Marquis, El Presidente. You will pay homage to me for the next 2 hours as I guide you through this crazy world of sports, as I am on loan from God to be your host for the next 2 hours. 917-889-8516 is our digits. So glad that you are with us today. We got a great lineup for you today. Matthew Embury, our official IndyCar contributor, not able to join us, but we did get his thoughts on the breaking news and the funny season. We'll get into that in our racing segment in the next half hour with Steve Wilson, Speedway Digest. But James Hinchcliffe coming up short and not having a ride in 2020, still under contract with Errol Schmidt. Same thing with Wickens. So we'll get his thoughts on that. Big news in the IndyCar funny season. Also, one of the biggest matchups in Week 9 by far, two teams trying to find their way. The Pittsburgh Steelers host the Indianapolis Colts, and we've got on deck, standing by in the balanced green room, Kyle Courtney, the Steelers super fan, if you will. We're going to break down that game, the X's and O's, that's to happen tomorrow at Heinz Field. And I'm sure that the Pittsburgh Steelers fans are more than ready for the Indianapolis Colts. But don't fall asleep on the Indianapolis Colts. That's for sure. They have shown. So we're both gonna play our homework card. And then coming up at 9:30, we got Steve Wilson, Speedway Digest. We're gonna be breaking down some NASCAR playoff action. Again, talking some more IndyCar. In the next hour, we've got Rick Riggin, our official college football contributor, Tony Donahue from the Tony D podcast, breaking down college football. And then in the last half hour, we're going to be breaking down some more NFL with Ed Kracz, beat writer for the Philadelphia Eagles, SI.com, our official NFL contributor, and Mo from the BS Sports Show. So I'm going to tell you what, don't even freaking sneeze. Don't do anything, because we'll be right back right here on the Balance Radio Network. All right, well, go ahead and get you some coffee. One thing I don't want you to do, I don't want you to shave, is we're kicking off No Shave November. We'll get into that as also.
Tonight, I just want to take you away. Throw your hands up in the sky. Let's set this party alright. Players, put your pinky rings up to the moon. Girls, what y'all trying to do? 24/7.
It's double trouble, double the fun at African Safari Wildlife Park in Port Clinton, Ohio. See the largest antelope on Earth, the giant eland, and the ugliest creature on Earth, the African warthog. There's so much to see and do, including the Midwest's only drive-through safari. Feed the animals, see live educational shows, feel the excitement, have your picture taken with a python or cockatoo, feel the adventure. Shop the Symbol Lodge gift shop with items available from around the globe. Visit the snack bar or picnic facilities. Enjoy a pony or camel ride. Or cheer your favorite porker on to victory in the famous Pork Chop Down. Bring your family to see the rare and exotic animals at African Safari Wildlife Park in Port Clinton, Ohio. Just take Route 2 to the Route 53 North exit and follow the sign. Only 17 miles west of Cedar Point via Route 6. Open every day, rain or shine.
When you don't go to Geico.com, car insurance can be confusing. Like Swedish techno confusing.
Bark, bark, meow, meow. Dance with me, purple cow. Bark, bark, meow, meow. Ooh, you lovely cow.
Geico makes it easy. With 24/7 access, all you have to do is go to Geico.com and you could save money on car insurance. It just makes sense. Unlike,
Dance with me, purple cow.
When you don't go to Geico.com, car insurance can be hard. Like early 90s heavy metal hard.
I'm yelling and screaming, and I'm loud. Roar!
Geico makes it easy. You can review and update your policy or report a claim on Geico.com or the Geico mobile app. Because shouldn't we all have a little less stress in our lives?
I'm not even upset about anything.
Here's to the straggly ones. The first ones. Hey, I look good with this ones. The black, brown, red, and gray ones. The itchy ones. The ones grown by Dad. The ones grown for Dad. The I nearly didn't do it this year ones. And the absolutely filthy ones. They all raise awareness, raise funds, start conversations, and save lives. Because whatever you grow will save a bro. Sign up now at Movember.com.
The Colts are back on the road this week, hoping to keep their mojo going, which is how the Steelers are feeling as they try to claw their way back to the 500 mark. Predictions are on the way, but first let's crunch some numbers. Steelers fans finally saw the kind of game from James Conner last week that they've been expecting all year long.
James Conner makes it in!
Conner broke through for 145 rush yards last week, a far cry from his previous high in a game this season, which was just 55. Now I know you're thinking he did that against the Dolphins, but Indy's rush D has struggled this season, giving up a hefty 4.8 yards per carry, which is tied for 25th. So Conner could again be the focal point for the Steelers' offense. The Colts' pass D, on the other hand, is coming off one of its better showings of 2019.
Flacco is sacked!
The Colts sacked Joe Flacco 3 times and held him to a paltry 174 passing yards, and now they get Mason Rudolph, who didn't exactly light it up on Monday night against a Miami D that most teams have breezed through. Now, when the Colts have the ball, they'll need to make sure they protect their QB better than they did last week.
Oh, he loses the football, and Denver got it on the strip.
Jacoby Brissett was sacked a season-high 4 times against the Broncos. They'd only allowed 7 all year prior to that. That pressure played a big role in keeping Brissett from throwing a single TD, and getting to QBs has not been a problem for the Steelers this season.
And Fitzpatrick goes down, and it's T.J. Watt.
Pittsburgh sacked Ryan Fitzpatrick 4 times, bringing their season total to 26, tied for 6th most. Their pass rush helps fuel their pass defense, too. They're 10th in passer rating allowed and 13th in passing yards per game allowed. So Brissett will be challenged when he drops back. But still, that might be the preferred route to take because the Steelers have held running backs to just 3.7 yards per carry, 6th best. It's a pretty even contest in a lot of ways on paper, but games aren't won on stats. So who do
All right, and welcome back to the Balance. Thanks to our friends over at NFL.com for that soundbite of the breakdown of the Colts and the Steelers. But joining us now is Super Steelers fan, Mr. Kyle Courtney. Kyle, welcome back to the Balance. How is you, sir?
I'm doing well, Tom. It's good to hear from you as well.
Are we ready to go, man? As I mentioned in my opening monologue, 2 teams trying to find their way. You guys have went through the quarterback ringer. We'll start with there. You've got Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer trying to lead your way, if you will, this weekend. So let's talk about what's going on with Ben. Bring us up to speed. What's going on with Big Ben and what's been going on with your quarterback seesaw, if you will, up and down. But the good thing, you guys got a very disruptive defense. We'll get into that part of it here in just a second. But the Pittsburgh Steelers host the Indianapolis Colts at home, and Rudolph is going to be taking point and leading the charge.
Yeah, and first of all, before we get into that, I would like to kind of point out a couple of quick stats here. Sure. Do you know the last time that the Steelers actually lost to the Colts?
Well,
it was
they beat us 5 times in the last 5 meetings. So however far back that goes, whatever date that is.
Yeah, and the last since 1997, the Steelers have beaten the Colts 8 out of 10 times. and they've never lost at home in those times. So what has been interesting is it kind of has seemed like the Colts have had really, really good seasons, but the Steelers have just been this weird brick in the wall that they've not been able to overcome at time and time again. The Steelers have had that with the Patriots. It's just sometimes you have a team that you match really, really well up against, and that's what we've seen for years and years and years between the Colts and the Steelers. But Steelers never played Frank Reich, so we'll see what happens on that. But back to your original question. So yes, the Steelers have had a little bit of a quarterback carousel. Five quarters into the season, Ben Roethlisberger started complaining that his elbow wasn't right, and then he immediately went off the field. And then what we found out later was that he had to get surgery that essentially ended his entire season. Mason Rudolph was drafted last year in the 3rd round. He was the 6th quarterback drafted behind that kind of historic line of 5 quarterbacks. And an interesting note is he literally gets to play all 5 of those quarterbacks that were drafted ahead of him this season. But what you've kind of looked at is Rudolph was an incredible player in college. He actually was a teammate with James Washington, who is one of the receivers the Steelers have, and he just lit up the stat sheet at Oklahoma State. But as people know anything about Oklahoma State, wasn't exactly throwing against elite defenses. And when you watch him play, you kind of see that he anticipates, or he doesn't anticipate near as much as you want a starting quarterback to do. He's not throwing people open quite as much. He's kind of waiting for his guys to get open. He's lucky to be behind a really good offensive line, so he doesn't get himself into trouble that much. But last week, especially even against the Dolphins, he did a lot of throwing off his back foot that looks like it took the pepper off the ball a little bit. He even had a concussion at some point during the season, or during the Ravens game, and then they had to bring in Devlin Duck Hodges, who prior to being a player for them, competed and won many national championships in duck calling, which is apparently a thing, but it was Alabama, so that's what you can expect. But he came in and beat the Chargers. But so they've done just enough to win on offense. Their defense has been absolutely stellar at this point. We can talk more about that as well. But they have a really, really, really young wide receiver core. Juju, who is 23 years old, is the veteran of the group. Deontay Johnson was a 3rd-round pick for them that has just absolutely come on and torn it up out of Toledo, who, gotta love those MAC conference guys. And James Washington has slowly kind of climbed his way up. Your old boy, Dante Moncrief, has found himself on the bench for bad hands. I'm sure that you as Colts fans, you saw that many, many times. But
yes.
But yeah, so the offense will be an interesting matchup. They aren't going to have James Conner. That's something that from that NFL soundbite. Conner hurt his AC joint in the game.
That.
Mm-hmm. Yep, he's doubtful leading into the game. I doubt he's going to play. So they're going to go with Jalen. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I've got some bold predictions with Rudolph. And here's the thing. With Jacoby Brissett and Rudolph, 2 very similar type quarterbacks in the fact that this is the first year that they're really kind of beginning to exemplify themselves. And we're probably seeing the end, maybe not this year, maybe not next year, but I think we're probably seeing the end of Ben Roethlisberger. But it just age, you can't outrun Father Time. Believe me, I've tried. So I think Rudolph tomorrow throws for 3 touchdowns. I mean, while the yards have been tough to come by for Rudolph, he has been fairly consistent in throwing touchdowns. Furthermore, in 4 of the 5 games that he's played, he's thrown for 2 touchdowns. The only game that he didn't complete 2 touchdowns when he got his bell rung by Earl Thomas in against the Baltimore Ravens. This week, though, he'll compete with a career-high 3 touchdowns. And let's face it, I mean, the Colts D is struggling. And certainly I wouldn't put the Steelers D in the elite status, but I would certainly put them in the aspect that they have the ability to be disruptive, and I think that they can be very disruptive to the Indianapolis Colts and Jacoby Brissett. So I think that Rudolph throws for